All right, let's check this one out. This one is very interesting. This is from the Cyberpunk Red subreddit as well. It is from the Nash Dude. Players calling in MaxTac. So last night I was running a night in the opera out of Tales of the Red Street Stories. That was the old Tales of the Red. There's a new one now called something Hope. It has to do with the Forlorn Hope. If you're not familiar, at the end of it, the players fight a cyber psycho in the Night of the Opera. Now, this is only our third session playing, so the PCs aren't the strongest yet, and the players are still learning the basics of the game. Okay, so this is a new group. Naturally, this cyber psycho fight ends up being pretty dangerous for the PCs. When things started looking dicey, I suggested to the players that they call in MaxTac as a last-ditch effort to save their own lives. I used the trauma team arrival rules to see how long it takes MaxTac to respond. 1d4 turns. I believe it's 1d6 turns, rounds. I mean, because they don't use non-standard dice, so everything in the game is either d6 or d10. But whatever, 1d4 is fine. I feel like d6 is too much. Anyway, I usually do 1d3, which is 1d6 divided by 2, rounding up. If you've played Warhammer, you're familiar with the 1d3. It's all over it. So that's what I use, because I feel like 6 rounds is such a long time, even though I get it. Every round is 3 seconds. 6 times 3 is 18 seconds. So it took 18 seconds for the police to get there. That's quick. That's pretty quick already. But in terms of how fast combat goes and the action economy of Cyberpunk, that's not fast enough, unfortunately. The fights are over before turn 5 almost every time. In all of my experience, I've never gone past turn 5. Maybe once, like rarely have I ever gone past turn 5. But anyway, I like this, so let's continue reading. Now, this presents another problem. If the PCs can call in a Deus Ex Machina like MaxTac whenever they fight a cyber psycho, why wouldn't they do it all the time? Additionally, although I don't have a lawman in my game, it definitely steps on their role abilities' toes. Here are my thoughts and solutions. 1. Sometimes MaxTac is just busy somewhere else in the city, so they won't respond. 2. If MaxTac gets called in and the PCs wanted to keep whatever was going on under wraps, that's no longer possible. 3. IP penalty. Take off some improvement points, or IP, the players are rewarded with for having to resort to calling MaxTac. I'd really like to hear other people's thoughts on this, specifically on how to prevent players from spam calling MaxTac. Number 1, I would say, do not remove IP from your players. Do not give them a penalty for doing something as creative as calling the police. Because let's face it, calling the police is a creative tactic, okay? Can it be overpowered? Of course. If the police were robots that answered every beck and call, then yeah, of course. But you got to remember, like you said in your number 1 was your first instinct. Sometimes MaxTac is just busy somewhere else in the city, so they won't respond. They might send some beat cops over there, but the beat cops are just there to keep the cyber psycho busy until MaxTac can come and do their job. Unless you have some kind of pull in the police station, but that's like you're phoning a friend. You're not just, calling in MaxTac. But, just calling 911 whenever you get into a gunfight, it's not always going to go the way that you hoped it would. Number 1, like you said, MaxTac is busy somewhere else. They won't respond right away. They'll send some police there to keep the cyber psycho busy until MaxTac can arrive. The number 2 is also very important. If they wanted to keep it secret, or they don't want their faces out there, the news appears, cyber psycho here, and it looks like we got some edge runners fighting a cyber psycho. Like, they don't want to be on TV, they don't want to be on the news, you know what I mean? That's a big liability as well. So calling the police isn't always going to work. Also, you got to remember, when it comes to the streets, snitches get stitches. If some of the gang members that they're allied with, or criminal people that they're allied with, find out that the players call the police whenever they get in trouble, that's like, that's against the street rules. You know what I mean? Your reputation takes a hit. So I don't think that it's always going to work. Now, let's say MaxTac is like, all right, we'll be right there. you still have to wait for them to get there. So if you're using the MaxTac response rules of 1d4 rounds, you better hope that you rolled a 1 and they're coming in one round. Because if you rolled a 2 or a 3 or a 4 or a 5 or a 6, think about how much damage a Cyber Psycho can do in one round, okay? They can do a lot of damage. So I think that, number one, do not take IP. MaxTac could be busy. MaxTac and the police and the news are coming. So unless the players want their faces out there, then they better be running away. And they could lose allies. So there's enough downside to calling in the police that I don't think that it's such a powerful tool. It has more downside than upside. But, you know, I still think it's really cool if the players do it every now and then. Lord Jesus says, honestly surprised money didn't come into the picture. Having to bribe the operator is someone from inside MaxTac beforehand. Otherwise, they won't take your call at all. Well, I don't know. I mean, I feel like that's a little bit too corrupt. You got to remember, like, the police have to function, you know what I mean, in the capacity that they're supposed to function in. I get we're in Cyberpunk and there's corruption. Like, I totally get it. You could probably bribe a cop in Cyberpunk much easier than you can, you know, in any other system. But you also have to realize that, like, if the cops are not functioning at all, then why have a police department? They have to have some kind of gains. They have to have some kind of impact. So MaxTac has to be good at what they do for them to be cool, because one of the players could be Cyber Psycho. So the players have to realize that, you know, their life could be in danger if they go Cyber Psycho, because MaxTac are the real deal. You know, it doesn't matter if they're corrupt or what. They have a job to do and they're going to do their job. And that's it. Sometimes they might take some money under the table. Sometimes they might look the other way. Sometimes they might plant evidence. But they still are good at what they do, and they still show up to places to do their job. So I think that, you know, putting a paywall behind the police doing what they're supposed to do creates a world where, like, it kind of breaks you out of the immersion. They're still writing tickets. They're still pulling people over and writing tickets. They're arresting people. They're, you know, taking people to mental asylums and stuff like that. You know, the police have to deal with things that normal police officers have to deal with. But sometimes they're like, you know what, this guy's a druggie, you know, Doomba that is going to overdose. Like, why are we going to waste our time here? Let him just die on the street. The REO meat wagon will pick him up. They'll strip him for parts. And that's his life. That's his legacy, okay? I got other shit to deal with. And that's something that hopefully we are not seeing in the police today. You know what I mean? That's, I'm hoping, I'm praying that, you know, we don't see that. Lord Jesus Crust says, considering MaxTac is a lawman role ability requirement, being able to bypass that requirement with cash would be entirely fair, in my opinion. They can't just show up to every call they get. They need someone with a reputable or invested interest, in my opinion. Yeah, so first of all, I agree with you. It is a lawman role ability. I don't want to take that away from my players just because it's a role ability, though, because it does make sense that you could just call the police if you want to. But we have to remember, a lawman calling backup is different than somebody calling the police. You call 911, you say there's a Cyber Psycho. The police are like, oh, yeah, okay. Well, we'll send somebody there. What's your general address? They send some beat cops. The beat cops show up and they go, oh yeah, this guy wasn't messing around. There is a Cyber Psycho here. Then MaxTac is called. So you definitely, like, you know, they're not, unless you have some kind of reputation within the police department and you're known like a lawman would be, then MaxTac isn't personally going to come to your call. They'll take the police department will take your call. The operator will take your call. You know, they might put you on hold. That's another, you know, that's another barrier. The operator will be like, yeah, okay, let me put you on hold. 2 rounds of combat go by. Okay, yeah, how can I help you? There's a Cyber Psycho here. Okay, let me get your general direction. Okay, we'll be there in a second. Now it's been 4 rounds of combat. I roll a d6. I got a 3. All right, they'll be here in 3 more rounds. They're essentially they'll be there in 7 rounds then. You know what I mean? Because it took that long. in Cyberpunk, we deal with a lot of power gaming. This is, I think, narrative power gaming. If someone were to try to abuse it, but it's so easy to get around this. I don't think that it's even, you know, IP penalty is so severe. I think that's like this, that's crazy to do that. There's so many barriers, so many things that can go wrong. I don't even think that it's worth calling in MaxTac. Hey Chooms, I hope you like that. If you like more of that, then click on that link on the top right corner there and you can check out the full VOD of everything I said in this clip. And stay tuned for more times when I go live. I appreciate all the love and support. If you guys really want to support me, you can go to patreon.com/JonJonTheWise, and you can use the link in the description below to go to Monster Fight Club to get some official Cyberpunk Red minis, terrain, you name it. I will get a portion of the sales if you do so. Thank you all for your support, and we'll see you guys on the next one. Thanks.